New polling in California indicates that Bernie Sanders is experiencing a rise. In fact, he is leading in polls in California, and I want to give you those details. So the UC Berkeley Institute of Governmental Studies found that both Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts and former Vice President Joe Biden have lost ground among the state's likely Democratic primary voters over the last 2 months. So to be specific, the erosion has benefited Bernie Sanders of Vermont, who narrowly tops the primary field, and unfortunately Mayor Pete Buttigieg of South Bend, who doubled his support since the September poll. Obviously, I added the unfortunately part to that graphic. Now, Sanders is in the nominal lead as the first choice pick of 24%. Warren is at 22%. And that's actually a pretty big change from September when she led the field by 29%. Biden is the first choice of 14% of likely Democratic voters in the primaries, down 6 points from September. Buttigieg is preferred by 12%, up 6 points from September.
All right, first, let's not bury the lead like LA Times did. Bernie Sanders is winning in California. California, by far the largest state, the largest number of delegates. We thought that he would rise. We told you that ahead of time. Now, to be honest, the polling did not indicate that for quite some time. We saw a little bit of a bump up after the AOC endorsement and debate, and then it kind of stagnated for a little while. But we kept telling you, no, I told you I went to the California Democratic Party convention. It looked like the entire floor was in favor of Bernie. The activists were starting to rally back around Bernie, and we could see all those different indications of it. And now the polling shows that in fact it's real, it's real. He's taking the lead in California, and if it sticks, it's gonna scare the bejesus out of the establishment, and it's going to be awesome. Look, forget scaring them. Winning is everything.
Yes.
And he could win Super Tuesday, he could win California. Right now, he's in the lead. So now that is 98% of the story. Now, I can't help but get frustrated at the LA Times covering California, and I read you some of it. The headline's okay. It says Warren and Biden lose ground, that's their main focus. Sanders moves ahead in California's shifting 2020 Democratic race. Oh, by itself, fine, okay? I think the big story is Sanders now #1, but okay. But throughout the piece, Bernie Sanders narrowly tops the primary field, has a nominal lead, a statistical tie for first place.
And they kept talking about Bloomberg.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna get to, Anna.
Yeah.
Like 50% of the story is about Mike Bloomberg.
Yeah, it's like the strangest thing. He is incredibly irrelevant.
What are you talking about? The polling indicates he's nowhere near the top. But they're like, well, how does this affect Mike Bloomberg? Who the hell cares how it affects Mike Bloomberg? But you know why? So you read the article, it's like a text case of mainstream media bias. What are they biased in favor of? Money, 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 money. Bloomberg has all the money. Bloomberg is running ads, including in the LA Times. And Bloomberg. But how does Bernie Sanders leading California affect Bloomberg? If Bernie wins California, he could be the next president of the United States. And you're telling me, how does it affect whether Bloomberg has 4% or 5% in the polls? What kind of maniacal focus is that?
It's just hilarious because it also shows, it's just another example of the disconnect between some members of the media and what people are actually experiencing. And so, look, let's keep it real. In California, I would argue it's the epicenter of inequality in America, right? So do you really think people, middle class people, a dwindling population, by the way, in California, are gonna like lose it over someone like Bloomberg? Are you surprised that
they are? That's amazing. They wrote it as if they're surprised. They say, oh, well, you know, about 40% of the likely Democratic primary voters surveyed viewed him negatively, referring to Bloomberg, and only 15% had a positive impression. Yeah, duh, we could have told you that from the beginning, and we did tell you that. You really, as in your political analysis, thought Bloomberg would be a real candidate. And you noticed it, you saw it with your own eyes. The entire mainstream media was like, wow, hey, look, that's a billionaire. We all love billionaires. The country loves billionaires. I mean, Bloomberg's got a real shot at this thing, coming in late, but it's an interesting strategy. He's probably gonna vault to a contender. And they asked primary voters, they're like, no, we hate him. A 3-1 margin, I'm not even close to considering him. They had to stretch and stretch to find a poll where he even registers. So they said, well, 8% of voters were considering voting for Bloomberg. Not that they're gonna vote for him.
That they were considering.
I mean, what a terrible number. Only 8% would even consider voting for him. Okay, half the article is about Bloomberg. It's insanity. They're so biased towards money, they can't see straight. But finally, after they go through all this stuff, at the end though, at the very end of the article, they have some numbers that are awesome for Bernie. Like they're like, oh, by the way, it's fine, okay, we'll give you these numbers, okay? I hope you stop reading by now. So let me read it to you. Sanders tops the field on 3 other attributes. Being the candidate who would bring the right kind of change to Washington. I would say that's a pretty important attribute when you're voting. The one who comes closest to sharing voters' values. Also number 1 in that, also incredibly important. And the last one is, and the candidate who best understands the problems of people like you. In other words, people are saying, look man, Bernie's clearly on our side. They're in a world of trouble, guys. Here we come. Here comes Bernie. Look, California and Super Tuesday is everything. If Bernie loses, we're gonna get another establishment candidate, and either they're gonna lose to Donald Trump, which is horror of horrors, or we're gonna get Biden or Buttigieg, who are so happy to call themselves president, and they've told you nothing will fundamentally change. They're going to do nothing. It will be soul crushing if one of those corporate Democrats wins. On the other hand, if Bernie wins California, and right now he's number 1, and he wins Super Tuesday, we're going to the White House. Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.